Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Directors meeting for October 18th, 2016. I'd like to welcome everybody that's in attendance with us here in City Hall. Madam Clerk, if you would please read the roll.
Director Hendricks. Director Richardson. Director Webb.
Here.
Director Kazort.
Here.
Director Wright.
Here.
Director Wyrick.
Here.
Director Compuris. Director Fortson.
Here.
Director Adcock. Vice Mayor Hines.
Present.
Mayor Stodler.
Here. Let me call on City Director Doris Wright for our invocation, please.
We bow our heads, please. Heavenly Father, thank you for the privilege and opportunity to be present tonight to take care of the people's business. We pray for each of our board members present, Lord God, and we pray that you would touch the hearts of those who are here to do the people's business, to keep an open mind and use good judgment. Father, we pray for our employees, those who are on the front lines, our police officers, our firefighters, and we pray for those who maintains our streets and our garbage pickup. Father God, we lift up our city. We pray that you would bless it and keep it strong. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
If you would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You're absent. The first item on our agenda is a recognition through the virtue of a proclamation, and I'm going to go to the podium to present this proclamation. I am very pleased this evening to issue a proclamation recognizing some of the important cultural aspects of our city. The proclamation reads as follows: Know ye all people by these present greetings. Whereas Little Rock has a rich history of the arts and humanities, serving both entertainment and civic engagement, and City Hall and its predecessors themselves have been home to theatrical and musical performances as well as 2 museums, the city has long officially recognized the importance of culture through initiatives such as the municipal auditoriums, Robinson, a zoo, museums, and a library. And whereas the City of Little Rock has also been a supporter of institutions presenting visual arts, theater, dance, music, and sculpture, as well as those preserving our city and state history through historic preservation of these structures, as well as state and federal museums which tell the stories through exhibits and outreach efforts. And whereas in 2007, the seeds were planted for the establishment of the Creative Corridor, along with Little Rock's Main Street, which has received 11 state, national, and international awards. It is bringing together cultural institutions and artists, businesses, and technology to serve as not only an economic engine, but also a celebration of the human ability to imagine, create, and express ourselves. And whereas in 2013, Little Rock voters overwhelmingly approved bonds for the transformation of the Robinson Center Music Hall into a world-class performing arts and event venue, which will open in November of 2016. And earlier this year, the same voters of Little Rock tremendously supported the Arts and History campaign to provide much-needed funds to enhance the Arkansas Arts Center, the Arkansas Museum of Arkansas Military History, as well as other cultural institutions in our parks. And whereas the Little Rock Arts and Culture Commission is composed of private citizens and cultural institution leaders, and is charged with promoting policies and encouraging endeavors for the appreciation and enhancement of the arts and cultural resources of the city. And whereas for 24 years, October has been designated as Arts and Humanities Month on a national, regional, state, and local level, now therefore I, Mark Stodler, Mayor of the City of Little Rock, Arkansas, do hereby proclaim October 2016 as Arts and Humanities Month here in the City of Little Rock, Arkansas, and call upon our citizens to celebrate our cultural life and to participate in the arts and humanities which enrich our lives, educate our children, and encourage growth of our economy. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and seal on this 18th day of October, 2016. I'd like to present this, if I could, to Jim Doyle of our Arts and Culture Commission. Jim? And certainly, if you'd like to say a few words, we're happy to recognize you. Thank you very much for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please,
And
if you'll stand to the dais, please.
I think I speak on behalf of my fellow commissioners and hopefully the arts community of Little Rock in thanking you and the city for this recognition. And also thank you, Mayor, for your past support, your continued support for the arts and humanities. Hey there.
How you doing?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you want to introduce your guest at the dais?
Michelle Canula, I'm on the commission.
Okay. She's Michelle Canula? Canuta, she's a commissioner on culture.
Thank you, Jim, and thanks to all the commissioners for your service. I see a couple of others that just joined us. Certainly, this is a very important month, and we appreciate all your volunteer service to the city of Little Rock and to the cultural institutions that you represent. The next item we have is a recognition and a tribute, and I'd like to call on George Irvin, please. George, welcome.
Mayor, thank you. Directors, thank you. And I have worked and thought about this for 3 days. I still don't know what I'm going to say. Molly Beth and I made an agreement some time back that if one of us were to die before the other one did, then the survivor would not remarry. Now, the reason I agreed to this was because I knew I'd never find another one like Molly Beth. She agreed to it because she's afraid she would. So, the operational word here is to talk about her uniqueness. And Molly spent her life, and I finally caught on to this in the last few years as to what it was all about. It involved my life. And she was in God's service. And she did it in an unusual way. She wasn't trained for it. She had a high school education. She was not a person who assumed airs or anything about her. She was just Molly. And she would tell you what she thought, and she didn't matter whether you liked it or not. And she was courageous. The fact of the matter is, she was so courageous that on 2 occasions in our neighborhood, she chased thieves down the street until the police caught them. And then, as some of you know, she once repelled the fire department's training facility, which is 5 stories, and she was 75 years old when she did that. So there was no fear in her. And she had a sense of righteousness and things being right. And it affected all of us in her family. She lived by it, and that's why she was here, is that she finally saw something that she wanted to change, and she started here. Bruce, what year did you start as city manager?
2002.
Okay. Slightly before Bruce started as city manager, Molly began a campaign to establish a street light at the intersection of Barrow Road and Clover Hill, and it was desperately needed. And she put on this campaign, and it was said in the paper in her obituary that it was 10 years, and the reason I ask is I knew that was too long. But it did go 4 years. And she came to this board meeting every time there was a board meeting for those 4 years. She never missed. Matter of fact, She missed church more than she did board meetings. So you might ask her what her new faith is. But anyway, she was successful with that. And Bruce graciously found the money to put that light in. I must confess that the next day after that light was installed, I very, very early in the morning pulled up to that intersection, looked right, looked left, and ran the light. But most of all, in her final days, she lost consciousness. And this lasted for 2.5 days, but she could hear. And I know she could hear. We got George Beverly Shea's music on the iPhone, put it on her pillow, and she was mouthing the words with his music as he sang. And the whole time that we were together in that hospital room, and it really lasted 3 weeks, was a sweet time together. Not just Molly and myself, but Molly and the grandchildren, Molly and the children. And she had a number of friends who came to Mountain View to visit her. But she then had a time when she was vocal, and she gave me a list of nearly 100 people to, quote, say hi to. In other words, in her passing, she had thought of these people and that she wanted to acknowledge them and acknowledge and tell you here corporately that she loved you. And she did so simply because she was involved with you. And your arguments and your decisions and your trials and tribulations were hers. She would leave home on Tuesdays and say, "I'm going to the ruckus." So that's what happened. I fulfilled my duty, according to the instructions of Molly, to tell you just how deeply she loved you. I'm up here because I want to be, to simply thank you for your reception of her. You've been gracious. You've been courteous to her. You tolerated her. And in every way that a lady is treated, you treated her like one. And I thank you.
George, you might have a seat for a minute. I think there may be some board members that want to comment, but that was a beautiful tribute to Molly, your wife, and she certainly has been a fixture here, and I say a fixture only to say in a way to help us focus sometimes our direction in a way that is always to the benefit of the people. And you're quite correct. She would not spare an opportunity to tell us exactly what she thought. And that was always refreshing. And to see her here at every meeting, and you're exactly right. I guess she got started when it started with that street light, but she, even after she got that street light, she kept it up, and she is sorely missed, as I know you recognize. And so thank you very much. We appreciate that kind of citizen involvement. It's very important, and she obviously understood the importance of what happens at the local level in terms of how it impacts on people's lives. So thank you very much for being with us tonight. Director Hendricks, you're recognized, please.
Thank you. I wanted to tell you, you said that she loved us, and I want to let you know that I loved her also.
Director Wright.
Thank you. Clover Hill Pembroke will never have a stronger advocate than Molly Irvin. The projects that are going to be done there next year in 2017 are related to Miss Molly. They have her to thank for getting some of their drainage problems taken care of. She was steadfast, and she was unmovable when she wanted something. And I don't know if you all were paying attention about a few months ago when the project kind of got switched. Ms. Molly made sure she brought it to my attention. This is not what we agreed upon. I have been to her home on many occasions. We have walked the property, we have walked ditches, we have walked up on the interstate to make sure that Clover Hill Pembroke got taken care of. I know all of the drainage areas in there. I will not forget. As money becomes available, it will still be a part of the agenda. So I just want you to know, Mr. Irving, that she was a great lady, and yes, we did love her.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much for being with us.
May I have a postscript?
Certainly.
Clover Hill Pembroke was Molly's neighborhood. That's the way it was known. The light that was erected there was Molly's light. And I wanted to tell you that I remain Molly's trophy husband.
Thank you, George. Okay. We can now move on to the other items on our agenda. The consent agenda consists of 7 items, and let me ask the city clerk to read those, please.
The consent agenda consists of a resolution to set November 15th, 2016 as the date of public hearing on the appeal of the Planning Commission's action in approving the conditional use permit to allow a conditioned mini warehouse facility on the C3 General Commercial District Zone property located at 102 South Rodney Parham Road, Little Rock, Arkansas, and for the purposes. A resolution to set November 15th as the date of public hearing on the appeal of the Planning Commission's recommendation of denial for a requested planned zoning district titled West Markham and North Monroe Short Form PCD located at 4908 West Markham Street, Little Rock, Arkansas, and for the purposes. A resolution authorizes the city manager to enter into a contract with North Point Ford for a total purchase cost of $120,040 for the purchase of 4 15-passenger vans for the Parks and Recreation Department and for the purposes. A resolution authorizes the city manager to enter into a contract with Pulaski County to sell approximately 12 acres of land for community park and for the purposes. A resolution authorizes the purchase of a parcel of property offered for sale to the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, to be used for neighborhood revitalization programs and for the purposes. A resolution authorizes the city manager to award a contract to Cisneros Family Construction in an amount not to exceed $118,794.22 for Wright Avenue sidewalk improvements and for the purposes, funding from the 2012 3/8-cent capital improvement sales tax. A resolution authorizes the city manager to enter a contract with Public Restroom Company for a total amount not to exceed $339,979 for the purchase and delivery of a pre-manufactured restroom facility for the Little Rock Zoo entry plaza and for other purposes. That concludes the consent agenda.
There's a motion and a second to adopt the consent agenda. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The consent agenda is adopted. Director Hendricks signaled first. Yes, Director Hendricks.
I had a light on for items 4 and 5 and 6.
Okay, go ahead, please.
On 4, Mr. Moore, could you tell me the location?
Little Rock Port property, Director Hendricks.
Okay, and number 5, what, is that the boundary of Land Bank, 917 South Maple? What's the west boundary?
Director Hendricks, we don't necessarily have a boundary for the land bank. We feel like this property is within that, within our target areas.
What's your target area? I thought we had boundaries on Land
Me,
Bank.
ask Mr. Tapp, our new land bank administrator, to come forward.
Evening.
What's your west boundary?
The west boundary, original focus area was around Pine and Cedar. Pine and Cedar on the west, but the Land Commission recently
Okay, is it
voted
Maple?
to expand that.
Is Maple on the other side, west of that?
No, ma'am.
No.
Maple is east of that.
East of that? Okay, and on number 6, Mr. Moore, could you tell me the contractor, is that What race is this contractor?
I don't know, Director Hendricks.
Would you find out for me?
I will.
Yeah, that's important to me because I want to sort of track and see what are we doing when it comes to minority participation, when it comes to revenue. So you will get that for me. Thank you. That's it.
Director Adcock, you're recognized, please. I recognize that, and I was going to get to that, and when we get to that, which will be shortly, just in a minute. Thank you. Director Richardson.
Thanks, Mayor. Bruce, I want to dovetail Director Hendricks' question about that purchase of the parcel with respect to land bank. What's the amount? How much are we spending for that land?
Mayor, members of the board, Director Richardson, $3,000.
3,000. And Mr. Tapp, do we have a ongoing process where we identify and operationalize the purchase of land or specific pieces of property?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Do we have a way to target the areas within the land bank targeted area? Do we have a way or some kind of process where we identify and point to different parcels? Because there's a lot of vacant lots in that area.
Yes, sir.
So is there some specific kind of criteria we utilize to put one above the other?
No, sir. That particular block, there's 3 other housing assistance properties that have been recently developed. So the Land Commission saw that parcel as a good lot to develop on.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Director Wright, let me recognize you, please.
Mayor, I wanted to make a motion that we take item 15 and put it with the grouped items. I've had an opportunity to meet with the developer and visit with some of the tenants and 2 of the properties, and I'm satisfied that my concerns have been addressed.
Very good. There's a motion to add this item 15 to the grouped items. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Any discussion? Any discussion? We're adding Director Wright, who had asked questions at the agenda meeting and had asked to have item 15 held separately, has now had a chance to follow up on that and has asked to put it on the grouped items. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, it'll be added to the grouped items. Now, let me recognize Director Adcock.
Mayor, I think that Mr. Tapp was trying to say that the Land Bank Commission has voted to, instead of having focus items, to open the land bank to the whole city. And I think he was interrupted when he was trying to tell us that.
Is that the case? Mr. Moore?
I think the land bank over the years has evolved, and when we first got into the land bank work, we targeted areas, and one of the premises behind that is you in order to really begin to see a difference, you want to see multiple redevelopments along a block or along 2 blocks. And I think that's a philosophy that we still want to have. But there's also other opportunities throughout the city that we want to be able, when there's these opportunities come before us, that we take advantage of them. So I've never really looked at the land bank as having targeted areas. We did focus on, especially when we had the neighborhood stabilization federal grant money, the almost $9 million. So I think it was appropriate to do it then, but also we've got to look at other pockets of the city.
Okay, are there any other questions on that, Director Richardson?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Bruce, I know we try to connect it to our NSP1, NSP2 funding. My question wasn't anything specifically related to a target area. It's more when we identify areas in the community where we want to have ongoing redevelopment, how do we prioritize? What sort of criteria do we use to purchase one parcel as opposed to other parcels? Honestly, I know we do. We target it based on ongoing redevelopment, but what do we do when we don't have any redevelopment or development in those areas?
Well, again, some of it is the land that comes before us, that comes available at your next agenda. I think there's 5 or 6 pieces of property that are all in close proximity to each other. that become available to us. So it is targeted. It is also the availability. And we don't try to pick one over the other. It's, sometimes how easy is it going to be for us to acquire the property, and do they want to donate it? And so there's a lot of different factors.
Thank you.
All right, we can now move on to the grouped items. Let me note to everyone that I have agenda item cards on item 13. And so, Madam Clerk, if you would accept that from the reading of the grouped items, and of course add 15 if you would, please. And let me ask for first reading.
An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Shackelford Crossing, Lot 4D, Tacos for Life, revised short form PCD, located at 2630 South Shackelford Road, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for the purposes. An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Hall, revised short form PCD, located at 13,311 Lawson Road, Pulaski County, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for the purposes. An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled KLR Properties, short form PCD, located at 12,400 Cantrell Road, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for the purposes. An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development, establish a planned residential district titled Tract 1A, Wildwood Place Neighborhood Park and Pool, revised PDR, located on the south side of Denny Road between Wildwood Place Subdivision and Wildwood Performing Center of the Arts, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for the purposes. An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Zaxby's Restaurant, short form PDC, located at 10,601 Canis Road, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for the purposes. An ordinance to establish the rate of taxation on property for the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, to be collected in the year 2017 for various funds of the city of Little Rock, to declare an emergency and for the purposes. An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development, establish a planned residential district titled Phillips Duplexes, short form PDR, located on the northwest corner of West 38th and Holt Streets, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for the purposes. First reading.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place these ordinances on second reading. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Second reading, please.
An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Shackelford Crossing, Lot 4D, Tacos for Life, revised short form PCD, located at 2630 South Shackelford Road. An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Hall, revised short form PCD, located at 13,311 Lawson Road. An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled KLR Properties, short form PCD, located at 12,400 Cantrell Road. An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development, establish a planned residential district titled Tract 1A, Wildwood Place Neighborhood and Pool, revised PDR, located on the south side of Denny Road between Wildwood Place Subdivision and Wildwood Performing Center of the Arts. An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Zaxby's Restaurant, short form PDC, located at 10,601 Canis Road. An ordinance to approve the rate of taxation on property for the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, to be collected in the year 2017 for various funds of the city of Little Rock, to declare an emergency. An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development, establish a planned residential district titled Phillips Duplexes, short form PDR, located on the northwest corner of West 38th and Holt Streets. Second reading.
Move to suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place these ordinances on third and final reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. The motion is passed. Third and final reading, please.
An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Shackelford Crossing, Lot 4D, Tacos for Life, revised short form PCD, located at 2630 South Shackelford Road. An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Hall, revised short form PCD, located at 13,311 Lawson Road. An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled KLR Properties, short form PCD, located at 12,400 Cantrell Road. An ordinance to approve a plan zoning zoning development, establish a planned residential district titled Tract 1A Wildwood Place Neighborhood Park and Pool Revised PDR, located on the south side of Denny Road between Wildwood Place subdivision and Wildwood Performing Center of the Arts. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Zaxby's Restaurant, short form PDC, located at 10,601 Canis Road. An ordinance to establish the rate of taxation on property for the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, to be collected in the year 2017 for various funds of the city of Little Rock, to declare an emergency. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned residential district titled Phillips Duplexes, short form PDR, located on the northwest corner of West 38th and Holt Street, third and final reading.
Okay, are there any questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the passage of the ordinances indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The ordinances have passed. If we can now have the first reading
You have an
of,
emergency clause on 14.
excuse me, there's an emergency clause on item 14. All in favor of the emergency clause indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The emergency clause is also passed. We can now move on to item 13. And let me ask for the first reading of this ordinance, please.
An ordinance to condemn certain structures in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas with structural fire and health hazards, to provide for summary abatement procedures, to direct city staff to take such action as is necessary to raise and remove said structures, to declare an emergency and for the purposes. First reading.
Move to suspend the rules and place in second reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on second reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Second reading, please.
An ordinance to condemn certain structures in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas with structural fire and health hazards, to provide for summary abatement procedures, to direct city staff to take such action as is necessary to raise and remove said structures, to declare an emergency. Second reading.
Move suspend the rules and put on third and final reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on third and final reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The motion is passed. Third and final reading, please.
An ordinance to condemn certain structures in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas with structural fire and health hazards, to provide for summary abatement procedures, to direct city staff to take such action as is necessary to raise and remove said structures, to declare an emergency. Third and final reading.
Thank you. I've got 5 cards. 2 are on one property and 2 are on another property that at least I can determine from reading the cards. So let me take the one that we don't know about. Brian Knight. Mr. Knight, if you'd come forward, please, and indicate which particular property you wish to address.
I don't know the protocol for this, but the property is 2521 Wolf Street.
Okay, Mr. Carter, thank you. Go ahead, please.
Okay. The property is about 25% burned in the back part of the house.
Do you own this property?
I do not own the property.
You do not own the property.
No. It's owned by Lisa Two Rivers, and she wants to rehabilitate the property, and it can be done. The pictures show it. And it's not a detriment to the community, or there's no people going in and out of the house other than the owner. And it's not an eyesore. It's been boarded up. It's secure. And they would like to rehab it. As I understand, she's very close to securing financing through a 203K loan. And that should be started at least this week. And she probably needs 120 days to get into construction. But the property's been cleaned and looks fine.
Are you her agent in any official way, or are you just a friend that
I'm a
was
friend.
asked to appear?
I'm a friend.
Has she had any communication with our staff, or Mr. Moore, maybe you would like to ask our staff to come forward and whether they've had any communication with Ms. Two Rivers?
I believe she's here also.
Pardon?
I believe she's here.
Oh, Ms. Two Rivers here? Well, does she wish to, I don't have a card from her. If
Yeah, didn't she? Come on.
Okay, excuse me, yes. Thank you, and I'll call on Ms. Two Rivers first, please. Go ahead, Ms. Lisa, if you'd come forward, please.
I have some updated photo of the front of the house. I have an updated photograph of the front of the house that was taken today and a few things that maybe y'all would like to see.
If you'd like to pass those out, please.
This way.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Okay. Well, I'm Lisa Two Rivers, and I own the property there at 2521 Wolf Street. I'm hoping to rehab it. I'm currently living next door in the house that's owned by my family. 2521 is the only property that I own. I plan to live in the property. When this house burned, I was less than a year into my current job. And it's taken me a while to be able to get the financing and everything that I need to rehab this property because basically life happened to me. I was married to a City of Little Rock code enforcement officer for many years. He started on the job in 2002 and he drowned. And when he drowned, I was without any income, any life insurance, any pension. So I was flabbergasted. I didn't know what to do. 3 months later, my daughter was diagnosed with cancer. I had to pack everything up and we had to live in the chemo unit at Arkansas Children's Hospital for 6 months. She got well and we went home and I scrambled to find a job because now I'm a single mother and I have to pay a lot of bills. I had near excellent credit, and every bill that my husband had was in my name. And the people that would work with me, I paid them off. The people who wouldn't, I was calling them from the Children's Hospital, and I said, I have something more important than bills to worry about at this time. So my credit took a nosedive, and it really got bad. It was down to 574 at one time. And so I scrambled, I looked around, I didn't know what to do. I started throwing out applications everywhere. And I have a degree in criminal justice. I said, I'm gonna have to make this work for me. So I climbed on a van full of 20-something-year-olds. I was 48 years old at the time. And I went to the Arkansas Law Enforcement Training Academy in Camden. And I ran and I shot and I drove and I fought and I did everything I needed to do to earn this badge. And I've been on the job ever since. I think it's terribly important at this time for law enforcement officers to live in the community they serve. And I do. I'm able to say that I live in the South End and I serve the South End. And I'm proud of that. And I want to stay. I don't want my property torn down because someone decided to set it on fire during the night. I'm hoping that y'all will give me a chance because I just found out today because the credit, it's redone every Tuesday. And I just found out today that I qualify for a 203K loan for a rehab of this property. And that's through Carroll Mortgage Group. And it's going to take some time to get the inspections and to get the financing and the paperwork in order for this type of loan, but I can do it. I mean, I haven't, there's nothing been able to stop me yet. So if y'all can have faith in me that I can put this together, because when you are at my property, you can see 5 vacant lots. And we don't need any more of those. And I really want it to be something nice that is something positive for the community. And I really want to stay where I've always been. I've been there 51 years, and my family was there before I was even born. Many of y'all are too young to remember TGNY, but my mama was the first female manager at TGNY. And so I guess I take after her. And
The applicant has the floor, please.
yes. So I just wanted to say it has taken some time. It sure has. And I'm not sure why, but in the beginning, all all the mail about this property went to my deceased husband. I don't know why that was until last month I was sent a letter from the code enforcement in my name. So and now I've since received one this month in the name of Leslie Two Rivers. I don't know who that is, but for some reason there may be a clerical error that's been going on or something, but I know the code enforcement in the city of Little Rock was at his funeral. They know he's deceased, and there's a plaque in the Oak Forest Alert Center to him. So I think it may just be a mix-up. That's how the paperwork was sent out, but now I have it, I'm on track, and I'm trying to get everything taken care of.
So Lisa, you heard Mr. Knight mention that you needed 120 days to be under construction. Is that what you're requesting from the city?
I am, sir.
Okay. All right. You have a couple of people who wish to, board members who wish to comment. Director Hendricks, you're recognized, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I have received many, many calls about your property. And how many years has that property been in this condition?
The fire happened July 22nd, 2014.
Okay. And the mayor mentioned a moment ago a dollar amount, so you would have that dollar amount to start on the property? And the reason why I'm asking these questions is that this is what we ask other individuals that come up here, and I'm a person that believes in fairness.
Yes, ma'am.
So you will have the money to start on this property?
I will. I just found out today that I qualify for a 203K HUD loan for this property.
Well, Mayor, I would ask that whatever she's going to do, we would do again, as we have done with others, is to bring something to us in writing in 30 days.
I'll recognize any motions when we
Okay.
hear from all of the parties that wish to speak, if that's okay, Director
Okay,
Hendricks.
fine.
Director Richardson, you're recognized, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I would be supportive of Director Hendricks' suggestion. I understand, Ms. Two Rivers, at one point in time, you were working on finding funding, but you were denied construction permits or work permits to do the rehabs, correct?
Yes, I was. I tried to get a permit from the city of Little Rock, but they didn't want to give it to me at all. They blocked me.
Well, I'm certainly appreciative of the law enforcement officers living in our community concept. I think that's valuable, and it lends itself to helping with ongoing development. And I don't necessarily equate vacant lots with community development or neighborhood development. I don't think that's one of the ways we improve our communities. I'm supportive of Director Hendricks suggesting that we give her 30 days, Mayor, to come back with a plan. So I second, if that's a motion, Director Hendricks, I would second that motion.
Well, I'm going to recognize somebody for a motion here in just a second. Let me ask the other board members to wish to comment on this to speak. Director Adcock, you're recognized, please.
I was also going to make a motion, but I was going to make it for 120 days with every 30 days a report back to this board.
Say that again.
120 days with a report back each 30 days to this board.
All right. Well, let me. We've got a couple people wishing to make motions, and I'd like to give the people who assigned previously an opportunity to make a motion or to defer their motion to what you just mentioned, Director Adcock. But let me check with Director Wright. She asked to speak on this item as well.
Thank you. Ms. Two Rivers, I'm so sorry about your husband and the trials and stress that you've gone through with your daughter. Glad to know that she's feeling better and she's back home. You probably know one of my relatives that's with ACC. I'll get with you.
Okay.
But I am supportive of your efforts here. I think you deserve a chance to save your home. And I too am supportive of law enforcement living within the community. And the fact that you have submitted a work plan here, the price is more than reasonable. And then that you have commitments from two people who stated that they would be willing to provide some financial assistance here.
Yes, ma'am.
I would be supportive of the 120 days. Are you sure 120 days would be enough? I'm discussing this with her. We're not making a motion at this time. Thank you.
I don't know. I just know that I can't ask for too much because there's probably some opposition to me rebuilding, but I really want to do this. I want to stay in my community. I've always been there. I don't want to go anywhere else. And I'm not sure. I've never had a 203K loan before, and I don't know how long it takes to get started. But
Mr. Moore, can we have our interim housing person come forward and see if he's familiar with the 203K? I've heard of it, but I'm not sure, because this time frame may not be enough.
Yes, I am familiar with it. Her loan officer should be able to give her a timetable. It varies from project to project on those loans, depending on the extent of her rehab. It can vary, but I mean, staff is more than willing to work with Ms. Two Rivers as well. We just found out when she came up, because we hadn't seen any work plan either, so that's why we hadn't pulled it. But we're willing to work with her and work with her loan officer on
So
helping her
this
through
is
the process.
this is a legitimate type of loan
Yes,
that
ma'am.
is
It
available
is.
for rehab.
It is.
And okay.
The 203K is specifically for rehab. For
Okay, so
homeownership.
if somebody has gotten notification that they've been approved, how much time do you think it takes within there for them to be able to get their paperwork in order with the bank to get started?
Yeah, I can get a
30
definite
days, 90
timetable,
days?
but we'll work with her and her lender and report to you all as well.
Okay, okay.
Okay, Vice Mayor Hines, you're recognized, please.
I think my question was just about, I think the big concern is securing the financing to do the plan. I appreciate your thoroughness and having a quote and looks like a plan of action. I think your big thing is securing your financing, right? So,
Yes, sir.
did your, Mr. Knight give you some more information you want to share with us?
He said it's probably gonna be 120 days to secure the loan and 120 days to, what? Oh, to begin construction. I just am not familiar with the HUD 203K loan. I've never,
Well, I think what the board's interested in is whether you can be under construction with a positive direction toward the rehabilitation of the house with proper financing in place
oh,
to complete it.
absolutely. Absolutely, sir.
Okay, well, that answers that question. Director Richardson, did you have a follow-up question for Ms. Two Rivers?
Yes, Mayor, it's back to Director Hendricks' ordinance. I don't, I'm supportive of Ms. Two Rivers, but I don't want us to get married to some long period of time that's not beneficial to her or the community. And I think that we can give her opportunity to come back in need be every 30 days, and that gives us an opportunity to measure and gauge what kind of work she's doing on that. And I particularly like the fact that you said that it's boarded up and it's not used as a trap house, that you're the only person going in and out of there. So I particularly like that. And I don't know, Mayor, if we want to do the 120 days or,
Well, I'm going to give.
look at our city attorney is looking puzzled, so you may want to chime in on this.
Oh, Mr. Carpenter, do you have a comment?
Well, the comment is that she's indicated that she's got eligibility for a HUD loan. Our staff has indicated that that's a legitimate loan. And it's also indicated we don't know a time frame, but we'll work with her. I'm concerned about something being on an ordinance for demolition, and I think we need to take that off. But it seems to me that it might be an easier thing to do is to take this off the agenda, and instead of having her to have to come back every 30 days, because she's just mentioned she's got a daughter who's doing well now, but she's still got a daughter alone at home, if our staff can report that the progress is being made, it seems that the board's concern is being met. And instead of setting a deadline on it, we can leave it up to the staff to say she has stopped working on this or she is continuing working on this, and then the board can decide whether to take further action.
Well, Mayor, I'd like to hear that sagacious advice from our city attorney. I move that we take it off the list.
All right, there's a motion and a second to remove 2521 Will Street from this demolition ordinance. Is there any further discussion? Director Hendricks, did you have? Director Adcock? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, Lisa, good luck on it, and please keep our staff advised on a very regular basis on your progress, okay?
I sure
That's
will.
very important that you do that.
Okay.
Mayor, if the minutes and the record can show that this is done because of this representation, and we will be checking with staff if this should change, then the board can take this back up.
Director Hendricks, yes.
I did second the motion, but what I would also want to let you know is that I live in that area, and I will be checking with staff, and you believe that I will let the board know what's going on.
Lisa, if you've got Director Hendricks checking on you every day, she's going to let us know, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Let me. Ms. Farmer, are you out there? We've already taken care of it. You're on the same house, right? Supportive of Lisa Two Rivers, I suspect. Well, come forward if you'd wish to speak, yes.
Well, I live in an old school building, by Children's Hospital, and I love the area. I visit Lisa a lot. I've known her for many years. Her house is boarded up, but there's a house right across the street that is also boarded up. And there's another house that's on the corner, probably about 2 houses down on the other side, that are boarded up. And so there's a lot of houses in that area that have been there for years, abandoned and boarded up. And I would just really, I mean, I've seen this house before it was burnt, and I would really just like to see it back up to what it can be. And so I was here for her because I
Very
love
good.
her. And so, but I'm happy with the decision. So,
Very
thank
good.
you. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you for coming. Okay, the next card I have has to do with, the next 2 cards, I believe, has to do with 2201 Denison. And let me call on Jana Hampton, please.
I'm going to ask for the same consideration. I don't know anything about the 203K, but I'll certainly check into that. Our situation is different in that it's not a financing issue. The issue was we bought this house from a place called Living Legacy Institute, which is, I don't know, they do something for veterans in Texas. And the owner of 2200 Denison kind of willed that house to this Living Legacy, who we then bought it from. So we didn't know about this third owner until we went through the quick deed process, and it was quick deeded to Living Legacy and then in turn quick deeded to us. So as far as we could tell, the house was ours. We filed in the courts, went to get the building permit, and that's when we found that all of this is taking place over a course of a couple of months. That's when we found that we still didn't have a clear title because whoever the first owner was hadn't done all of his paperwork. And so the city declined our building permit. We contacted the Living Legacy. There was some transactions between the first owner and them that was supposed to take place, and then I'm not sure what happened then. If we could, Mr. Parkman took care of that end of the business, but we could go in, we're ready to start renovation tomorrow. It's just, we couldn't get the building permit. Really, that's what it came down to. And then we had to figure out who needs to sign what and, how is this? And I didn't understand why it wasn't legal or why there was still a problem because we had filed our claim in court. So we were under the impression that everything was fine and that the house was ours. So we're still trying to figure out really what happened.
How long have you had the quitclaim deed?
Since we had the quitclaim deed in the end of April. We had a filing done in May. Then in June is when we went to get the
You
permit.
say April of 2016?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So that's when you thought you purchased
Yes.
and had clear title?
Right.
Okay.
Then in June is when we went to get the building permit, and then that's when we were told, well, there's still this other name out here that's still on the title. So I'm not sure that we've gotten all of that cleared up. Now, I'm asking that we not tear down the house quite yet, because we are fully capable of going in and renovating this house. It's just a matter of getting this person to do whatever paperwork they need to do. And I think there was some kind of, the guy went out of the country or something, or went out of town, he wasn't available to sign the paperwork, but everything that we got from the Living Legacy Institute, everything was notarized. You know, everything just was supposed to be legit. And so I'm not sure whatever happened to that first owner. But we're ready to go in and get working on the house. Again, it's not a financial issue, it's a.
Have you been in contact with the city staff on this matter?
We have tried to get in touch with, can he come up and talk with me?
Yeah, I'm going to call on Mr. Parkman. If you'd like to come forward, you asked to address the board as well, please.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. I'm John Parkman. First time I've been before you guys, and is this what it feels like being before Jesus?
No, not really.
Anyway, we bought this house for $4,000 March 12, 2016. We got a quitclaim deed May 5th, 2016. I went and get this building permit June 16, 2016. And they said, well, you don't own it. This house is not in your name. I beg to differ. It is in my name. Now, here's a quick claim. Well, here's where I registered in Pulaski County Court. Here's the quick claim deed. But anyways, the lady at the permit office, incidentally, I've been a plumber since Jesus walked on water. I'm in a permit office regularly. And she called lots of people and said, nope, they haven't got it filed in your name yet. So I got to backtrack all these. Anyways, back to the lady that was asking for the extension. We're requesting this. I got several letters from the code people that says your time to address this issue has expired. And I didn't know we had a time. I mean, shoot, when we got it, we went in and got it all cleaned out, all the junk. There was a kitchen fire that really didn't do that much damage, but when the fire department comes in, it does a real mess. And that's not a big concern. My guesstimation right now is about $20,000. And now, $10,000 is labor. This is my partner, this is my daughter. So I'm gonna take a full sheet of sheetrock and put it to the ceiling, which is amazing, I thought. But anyways, anybody interested in giving us a reasonable amount of time to get in here? My intention is, when I went to get this permit, is get the roof part done. And you see, our new corporation says we take dead houses and bring them back to life. This son gonna need some serious CPR. But my intention is to go in and get the roof repaired, get it dried in, and then start working on the inside, which it's not that major.
All right, thank you, Mr. Parkman. Now, there's some board members that have some questions for one of the two of you. Director Wright, you're recognized, please.
My question is for Mr. Carpenter. Mr. Carpenter, given what you've heard about the quitclaim deed and the fact that the paperwork has not been properly transferred and registered, what is the city's position regarding that? If they've got documentation to show they purchased the property, but the documentation is not.
Well, there should be a file mark on the quitclaim deed itself if it has been filed, and if that's the case, and that shows where it is in the Pulaski Circuit Clerk's office.
Would you
with
show
the page
that?
number and everything else.
I've got one from Texas and then from Pulaski County.
Here's another quick claim deed. I got a bunch of them.
If you'd bring one. Is that all the same document, Mr. Parkman?
No, sir.
They're all different quitclaim deeds?
Yeah, these weren't notarized, and so.
That one is? Okay.
Mr. Moore, do you know, is our staff issuing building permits to people who evidence their ownership by a quitclaim deed as opposed to a warranty
But
deed?
if I could have staff come up, I think it's important to kind of lay out the process. When, as you know, years ago, we were getting ourselves in a difficult position by people going in and getting building permits for structures that needed extensive rehab. So we changed that, I think, and the board was very supportive. And so when you have a UV structure, there's a checklist that when you come in, you have to go through. So if Mr. Garland, if you would come forward and go through that process, and when we actually started dealing with the family out of Texas, I believe they're in Texas.
Mayor, members of the board, on February 5th, 2016, we sent Miss Selah James Owen, I think at that time, a letter along with the report declaring the property on Denison as a UV. Staff's estimate when that property was declared unsafe vacant, we valued the renovations to cost about $75,000. Subsequently, we sent letters starting about September 9th this year, letting them know that the property still has not been brought up to codes.
Who was that sent to?
That was sent to, at the time, 3 different owners that we were aware of. Selah James Owen, Living Legacy Institute, St. John Rehab and Rentals. The reason we do that is every entity that we can identify that may have a financial interest in a property, we send notice. We then received a phone call from Mr. Parkman here on September 29th, indicating that he was the owner wanting to rehab this property. The process the city manager was referring to is simply when a property is declared UV, we send a letter to that owner if that owner is interested in rehabbing, asking to sit down, meet with staff. That meeting, we want 2 critical pieces of information. What's your rehab plan? What's your time frame? And some indication of your financial ability to complete that rehab. If that information is successfully provided, we provide the director a recommendation to remove that property from the list, and he sends that recommendation to the city manager for approval, so the property never gets to you all. Usually when owners get before the board, they have not met that criteria, or they've disagreed with staff's position, so we then ask them to present that to you all.
So did you meet with Mr. Parkman?
All staff got was 2 phone calls, one September 29th and another one on October 17th. That's it.
Let me ask this question, Mr. Parkman. Are you the entity that is the manager of the LLC St. John's Rehab? Please get to the microphone and indicate a yes or no to that.
Oh, yes, I'm the St. John part of this thing.
So you did receive the notice, the St. John's Rehab LLC notice, is that right?
I'll check on that.
Yes, he did.
He did, okay. I just want to establish whether this quitclaim deed is to the same party that's before us today, so, and the answer is yes, so. All right, Director Kazort, you're recognized, please. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was asking Mr. Carpenter a question. We didn't
I'm
get a
sorry, go ahead,
response from
please.
him. Mr. Carpenter, you looked at their paperwork,
It's been filed, yes, ma'am.
so that paperwork is legitimate?
I can't answer that question without a title review in Arkansas. Arkansas ownership is based upon first to file. So if they filed it on that date, but somebody filed a deed the day before, that deed would be the one that would control. And so I can't answer your question without a title search.
Okay, then let me ask this question. Legally, where does the city stand if we move forward with trying to demolish this property?
Well, the city's demolition is going to be because it has made the finding that this is an unsafe and vacant place, that it is a nuisance, and that demolition is necessary to abate that nuisance. So who has title or doesn't have title doesn't seem to be a problem, particularly since as I've understood the conversation tonight, they've had notice of the demolition decision, and they were here tonight to talk to us about not having this thing demolished. So I don't think that stops you from that.
Okay. So I guess, Mayor, my next question would be, why didn't they meet with staff to map out this before we even got to this point?
Do you have a?
Well, apparently they tried to, if I understand correctly, they made an application for a building permit and were denied the building permit because the staff did not have apparently information that this quitclaim deed had been filed and existed. Is that correct?
Well, it's really more than that. It's that it's been filed, but that it was the first filed, that it's where the title is.
But no, my question was, why didn't they not sit down with staff when they got the notification, which is the procedure?
Why don't you ask them the question?
I can answer that.
Okay.
Mr. Parkman has a list of the times that he did try to call and make contact to make an appointment and didn't receive a call back. So that's why we're here, because we never could make an appointment. When, he called and left several messages and just never got a call back.
Mayor, can I speak?
My light's on next.
Okay, I'll let others speak.
Director Gazort.
Mr. Parkman, looking at your deed here, and it's certainly valid on the face, and Mr. Carpenter's correct. I mean, the issue of title will depend on first to file. My question to you is, you filed this deed on May the 5th of this year. Tell me again, when you first found out that there was a problem with the title with an outstanding potential owner of this property.
I believe that would be June the 16th.
All right, and on June the 16th, when you found out there was another potential owner on this, what steps did you take from that point to this point to try and clear the title to this property?
Not really much of anything.
Have you consulted any legal counsel?
No, sir.
Okay. Taken no steps to proceed to try and quiet the title to the property that you believe you own?
Can I answer?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's not true. We did make numerous attempts to get back in touch with Tom Pierce. He was our contact person from this Living Legacy Institute. The entire time, we worked with him for months to buy this property for the amount of money that we bought it for. We had no idea that there was this third party until the sale was made and they asked us to get an assessment on the property so that this person could have a tax write-off. So.
But again, my question is, have you taken any, other than calling your seller in Texas, have you taken any steps in Arkansas to attempt to clear up the title of this property?
We went with what Mr. Pierce promised us, which was we're gonna get back with, Salam, I think is the name, James Salam or Salam James. And get, they had to fill out from what I understood, it was just a real simple, they just need to fill out this document, send it to us, their name is off, we're finished, and everything is fine.
Will that document be a deed from that person to you? Is that what you understood it to be?
I think that was, I thought it was resolved, but the Sloan was going to quit claim over to Living Legacy, then Living Legacy going to quit claim over to us. We got, so many deeds.
Well, all right. But I guess, you've given me several things, but the short answer to my question is, since June, you have not taken any legal steps to try and clear up the title to this property?
No, we did not contact a lawyer or a title company or, we just kind of thought, surely as much contact as we have had, they wanted to sell it to us so bad, surely they'll get this cleared up and, quite honestly, it was June, we got didn't have a permit, we'll give it a couple of weeks, then it was July and it was hot, so it was too hot to go over there and work at that time anyway. And again, I didn't realize that, it was, I know it's a vacant house, but there's, like she was saying, there's 2 other vacant houses right next to it. I just, we weren't anticipating having to be in a real hurry to get in there. We thought, summer will go, we'll worry about it when it gets cooler.
But to answer your question is, my intention is to go down to tax assessor's office to see who's paying taxes on that darn thing. But I haven't made it down there yet.
Director Hendricks, you're recognized, please.
Finally, they're here because the residents.
All in the same order that people
Yeah,
punch the buttons,
but
Director Hendricks.
this is why they're here today, is because the residents, and I even emailed Mr. Moore about this house, is that it's a gentleman that's been going in that house for weeks and weeks and weeks that drives a truck. And the residents was concerned about that happening. And that's when staff, Mr. Moore had staff to go over and check, and that's why they started doing all this paperwork. Otherwise, the neighbors were concerned that they were going in that house. The house once belonged to the Gillespie family who built that home. That's Ward 1. I can give you a history about anything in Ward 1.
Director Richardson, you're recognized, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. My question is more for staff than the people up here requesting an extension. When I heard that figure, Ed, that $75,000 figure, Vice Mayor, I was flummoxed because we're building and selling brand-new NSP 1 and 2 houses for $40,000 more than that. And I want to know, what are we doing these estimation or guesstimation internally? Are we consulting outside figures? That's $75,000. That's a tremendous amount of funding for that house.
Well, if you add up heating and air, plumbing and electrical.
Not for you.
Mr. Parkman, the staff is behind you to speak
Oh, I'm
on that
sorry.
issue. Thank you.
Sorry.
Director Richardson, the last few NSP and home projects have run between 128 and 130,000 for construction. We use a software for rehab to estimate the cost, Housing Developer Pro, so they'll go in and punch in all the requirements and the work write-up to calculate the cost. So we don't just pull it out of the air. We use an
So we
estimating
actually
tool.
have
An estimating
staff
tool.
go in there and use software to
We
make
use-
these estimates or guesstimates?
Yes, sir.
And what's the square footage on that house?
I don't have it. You know, Ed?
2,500. Mayor, I move that we take this one off as well.
So, I'm sorry, what was the motion, please?
Make a motion that we take this one off.
Is there a second? There's a motion, a second, to remove this from the demolition list. Are there any? Well, there's a motion and a second to take it off. Mr. Richardson made the motion. Did you want to put any qualifiers on that, Mr. Richardson?
Yes, for 30 days, and they come back, or staff comes back and give us an update on progress or lack of progress.
All right. There's a second. All right, discussion on the motion. Director Adcock, you had your light on. Do you wish to speak to the motion?
In the pilot program that we're working on in Midtown, is that these titles are so messed up, and you have to start someplace getting them clean, and you're just doing demolition's not the answer, and we all know that we've got to start addressing what we do at these houses. So I want to give these people an opportunity to get the title to this and then get the permit to it, because if we give up on this one, it's another vacant lot. And they've always said there's 2 or 3 other houses like this in the neighborhood. And if we can get this one rehab, maybe we can get the other 2 or 3 rehab. So I am in agreement to give them 30 days to come back to us.
Director Wright, you're recognized for discussion on the motion.
Yes, Mayor, I can concur with that, but I just want to impress upon them that they can't just sit there and do nothing. You know that there's a problem with it, so you need to go ahead and move on it and get this done. So 30 days, and then let them come back to us with that, and let us know whether or not they've been successful in getting this deed taken care of.
Okay, there's a motion to remove 2201 South Dennison from this condemnation ordinance. There's a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The motion has passed to remove this house from that. Mr. Parkman and Ms. Hampton, you would be wise to go to a title company and run the title, and it would be very, and you might want to seek some legal advice. I think it's pretty imprudent to be putting a lot of money into a house where all you have is a quitclaim deed, and you ought to check that out. That might have saved you a lot of effort if you'd have consulted with somebody earlier. Okay, the other issue is you need to get with our staff on a regular basis and come forward with a construction schedule and the ability to finance what you're doing and the ability to get a permit, so that our staff can give us a report in the next 30 days. If we see no action, then it's likely this will show back up on a condemnation ordinance, and the board may not be as responsive to your requests. Thank you. Okay, we have ordinance number 13 that's been read 3 times as amended. All in favor of the passage of the ordinance as amended indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The ordinance is passed. And on the emergency clause, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The emergency clause is also passed. Thank you, and thank you to the board for all of your inquiries on this matter. Okay, we now can move on to. Thank you, sir. We can now move on to a reading of ordinance number 16.
An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Auto Zone, short form PCD, located at 9201 Stagecoach Road, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for the purposes first reading.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on second reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The motion is passed. Second reading, please.
An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Auto Zone, short form PCD, located at 9201 Stagecoach Road, second reading.
We suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on third and final reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The motion is passed. Third and final reading, please.
An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Auto Zone, short form PCD, located at 9201 Stagecoach Road, third and final reading.
I don't have any cards on this item. I believe, Director Wyrick, did you ask to have this held separately? And if you would, go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you. I had, as I said last week, I had mixed reviews about whether or not the community wanted this. So I wanted to have an opportunity that if someone was strongly for it or strongly against it, they could appear tonight. So that's the reason why I had it shown as a separate item. So it looks like it was no one wanted to participate, yes or no. So I guess we go ahead and vote. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, there's no one else that wishes to speak on this item. All in favor of the passage of ordinance 16 indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The ordinance is passed. We can now move on to ordinance number 17, and let me ask for first reading of this ordinance.
An ordinance to authorize the issuance and sale of sewer refunding revenue bonds, providing for the payment of the principal of and interest on the bonds, prescribing other matters relating thereto, to declare an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion? There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on second reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Second reading, please.
An ordinance to authorize the issuance and sale of sewer refunding revenue bonds, providing for the payment of the principal of and interest on the bonds, prescribing other matters relating thereto, to declare an emergency. Second reading.
We suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on third and final reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. Third and final reading, please.
An ordinance to authorize the issuance and sale of sewer refunding revenue bonds, providing for the payment of the principal of and interest on the bonds, prescribing other matters relating thereto, to declare an emergency. Third and final reading.
Okay, go ahead, Director Adcock. You have a disclosure?
Yes, Mr. Carpenter told me I need to disclose that I do own some sewer bonds, but not to the extent that it would keep me from voting on this issue.
All right, very good. Director Wright, you're recognized.
Yes, Mayor, I'd like Mr. Ramon to come forward and refresh my memory, if not all of ours, as to what we're getting, what we're doing, and so the public can.
Evening, Mayor,
recall.
Director Wright, City Directors. This is really taking advantage of the low-interest rates that exist right now. We have about almost $20 million that we would like to sell and get lower interest bonds. The goal here is we're looking at about a savings of approximately $239,000 a year.
About $250 a year and almost $5 million over the next 20 years.
And I think it's a one-year reduction in the time period.
So this is, we're still getting the same projects, it's just not going to cost us as much.
This is money we've already
Committed.
We've already done projects with, and we're paying it back. This is like refunding your house, or refinancing
Financing
your
your
house.
house.
Yes,
Okay.
good for the ratepayers is correct.
See, I know it's good that you came down. Okay, because I need a refresher every once in a while. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ramon. Okay, we've had the three readings of the ordinance. All in favor of the passage of the ordinance indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The ordinance is passed. And on the emergency clause, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. And all opposed indicate by saying nay. The emergency clause is also passed. Thank you, gentlemen, for being with us this evening. I hope you've enjoyed it. Okay, we have two cards for citizen communication. This is an opportunity to bring to the attention of the board specific items that are not on our agenda and are matters of interest to the city. We allow 3 minutes for the presentation, and I have Mr. Eugene Ellison and I think Reverend Benny Johnson that wish to speak on the same issue. Is that correct? If you come forward, please, and I don't know how you want to divide up your 3 minutes, but I'll let you all get that figured out. Mr. Ellison? No, they don't. It's on the one, I think they're all on the same issue. Yeah, they are. Are they not? Yeah, they are.
Trying to say Eugene Ellison is the topic.
Oh, I see. Okay. I'm sorry. It's just Reverend Benny Johnson who wants to speak about that matter. All right.
To Mayor Stoller, Vice Mayor Hines, and the city board. When I saw via TV that Mr. Eugene Ellison got killed by Little Rock policemen, I smelled a big old fat stinking rat. I was a resident at Chateau DeVille. I used to work security there. Mr. Ellison was one of the most kindest, most nicest, and respectful men you ever want to see. I'm glad for former County Coroner Garland Camper, who raised questions when he said there was no sign of pepper spray being sprayed in his room. I think Mr. Camper, on the night at that scene, he's the only one that told us truth at that scene on that night. It ended up costing him his job, but I think he opened the eyes of the public. Now, the officer that shot Mr. Ellison was recommended for not to be hired by former Chief Stuart Thomas, who was a captain at the time, because this also charged with dereliction of duty and some other violations. She should never be on this, been on this police department. But whoever made the decision brought a big liability on this city. And there's no doubt in my mind, Mr. Ellison, he was shot down in cold blood. No ifs and buts about it. Now, if you look at the paper on Saturday, it came out that the trajectory of that bullet was coming down. That means Mr. Ellison was shot while he's sitting down. And also, the results showed that they were standing out on the back of him when he was shot. Now, Assistant Chief Bewley mentioned in the paper on Saturday that there's something that needs to be looked into. Now, I think Chief Buckner sometimes run off at the mouth without even thinking, because he said that they're not going to take a look at it. And I'm just asking City Manager Bruce Moore, since you his boss, to tell them to take a good look at this thing, because it's a lot of discrepancies in all these stories of these officers. While this sister gets ready to get a chance to go home with her family, Lieutenant Troy, Brother Smith will never see their daddy again. And I know usually this board is racially divided by the way they vote. But I'm asking this board to do the right thing, take a look at this new evidence that came out. And in closing, I'm not going to take a lot of your time. I don't think Mr. Ellison was shot and killed. In my opinion, he was executed. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Reverend Johnson. Director Wright, did you wish to comment on this issue?
Mr. Carpenter, is this issue still before the city? I thought there was some type of settlement that had been reached in this
The
situation.
issue's not before the city. It's been reviewed by the Department of Justice.
Can
the
you speak into
FBI.
your mic?
The issue is not before the city. It's been reviewed by the Department of Justice, the FBI, and the Little Rock Police Department. The evidence about the positioning is not new, and when we got the evidence, we immediately took it to the state medical examiner, who basically totally refuted it on the theory that this type of evidence assumes that bodies aren't moving, and of course bodies are. And I understand the Reverend's comment, but I also understand that we have an independent witness who saw what happened that night, who's not related to the police. And his statement is that Mr. Ellison was standing and running towards the officer, swinging this cane over his head when he got fired at.
So, but has this issue the case not been settled?
Case has been settled.
Okay. Thank you.
Director Hendricks, you're recognized, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The case has been settled, but there appears to be a new discovery. And the discovery has to do with the autopsy of the body. So if everybody would read that in this paper, and I don't know whether those facts are true, but it's just in the paper.
Well, that was a letter that was sent just about a week ago by Mr. Lowe for some reason, but that was nothing new than what he sent several months ago, and it's nothing new from what we had before the matter was ever scheduled to go to trial. So there's nothing new, we just keep bringing it up. And I think that's inherently unfair. You know, we don't answer these things. There's a lot about this case that we could share and deal with, and I'm not going to say it's not a tragedy, but we don't try these cases in the press like the plaintiffs do.
Tom, let me ask you this. You said that does the attorney have a right to reopen that? You can't tell him that, can you?
No.
Okay.
I can't tell him that. But I know that I took the same oath he took, and that is we're supposed to try our cases in courtrooms and not in newspapers.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I think the autopsy is what was supposedly to be rediscovered.
No,
So
the
we won't
autopsy is
argue
not
about it.
new. The whole issue is not new. Please understand that, Director Hendricks.
Yeah.
None of this is new. None of this has not been looked at, and this information has been shared with these other agencies.
So what we need to ask of the attorney is to have the right information printed.
Yeah, like the letter from the Department of Justice that says there's no evidence to go forward. That would be a good thing that he should advertise, but he refuses to do so.
Okay. So what do we need to do, Benny? Go to the attorney?
He's in California.
Yeah, he's in Little Rock right now.
Yeah, he may be here today, but he basically serves out of California.
Director Richardson, you're recognized, please.
Yes, Mayor. Tom, thank you for your explanation on that. I'm not sure you're saying that even if it's settled, that prohibits citizens from coming up here and speaking their opinions on it, right? You're not saying that, are you?
I didn't say anything about Reverend Johnson. My concern is with Mr. Lowe.
Okay, but Reverend Johnson's not trying this again, and you made that issue about it's not fair to try it again. I just think,
Well, no, but he's bringing up evidence as if it's new when it's not, and that's the only point I'm trying to make to the board. If it was new evidence and it hadn't come forward before, and it was as damning as what you've just heard, you would have heard it from me first.
well, here's what's interesting about that. I remember when that incident happened, and I was one of few people who thought we needed an outside independent investigation. And what makes your comments so interesting, we have two assistant chiefs right now saying it needs to be looked at again. We have two
Who
of
do
them.
you have it looked at now by? The Department of
I'm not the
Justice?
police, I
and the
don't know,
Attorney
I mean,
General?
I'm not
Now,
an
once they
assistant
made
chief.
the decision, Director Richardson, the lawyer gave the information individually to the Attorney General, and he refused to look at it any further. and said it wasn't necessary. Eric Holder, I have some confidence in,
I do
and they
too.
refused to look at it again. But see, that's not what's being put in these newspaper articles. That's not what's being put in this stuff. I think it's irresponsible journalism to take a letter that's sent by a lawyer and publish it without talking to anybody else about the rest of this so the people can get a full and fair hearing. That's all I'm saying.
I hear you, Tom. My statement again, and I don't know what they're basing this on, but we have two assistant chiefs.
Wait, we don't know.
Right, but you
Except
have
it's-
somebody that works within law enforcement, somebody who's privy to information you and I might not be privy to, are suggesting that we need to look at this again.
Well, the issue is who looks at it, and you've got several parties that look at it. You've got the prosecutor's office that looks at it, you got the FBI that looked at it, you got the Department of Justice that looked at it. I think Reverend Johnson asked the city manager to look at it again, and certainly he's entitled to make that request and for Mr. Moore to do what he may do. But the civil case has already been resolved, so.
That's a good point, Brad. That's all, man. I'm through.
So I think
drag this
it
out,
certainly,
man.
Reverend Johnson's got an opportunity to request that Mr. Moore take a look at it. I'm not sure what that means precisely, but the point's been made, and other agencies have reviewed this. I think what Mr. Carpenter is referring to is that whatever was in the letter was something that already was aware of by the various agencies that looked at it.
And that letter came after we settled with them. Do we know? What was it? A year before.
Wait. Which letter? The letter from Mr. Lowe?
Yes.
Both of the letters from Mr. Lowe to the prosecuting attorney came after the settlement.
After the settlement, after we settled with the family.
Most recent letter was in October. And I'm not sure about the first letter to the prosecutor's office, but I know that this letter was just a few weeks ago.
Thank you, Tom. Seems like
Director
you'd
Hendricks,
like to
you're
hear something
recognized.
else from you.
Are you finished, Director Richardson?
Yeah.
Director Hendricks, you're recognized, please.
Thank you. This is for Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore, would you take a look at Gaines Street, north of 25th to Wright Avenue? It's paved. Mr. Llewellyn and many of the residents south, that's on Gaines Street, south of 25th and Gaines, it's no paved streets, and they are really upset about it. And so am I. I didn't know it until I was called about it. Beautiful 4-lane, beautiful, but when you cross Roosevelt Road and go south, nothing's there. But broken up where the contractors had been in there, apparently what they said maybe several months ago, and did whatever they needed to do, but they did not pave the street. Thank you.
All right, we're not finished quite with citizen communication. I have Kelly Duda, who wishes to speak on an issue. Mr. Duda, please come forward.
Hello, Mr. Mayor and esteemed members, directors of the board. I wanted to bring an issue here. I have a prepared statement, and I'm hoping that the City of Little Rock can send out a message for progress. South Carolina recently took down the Confederate flag. New Orleans is taking down Confederate monuments. Little Rock has taken down a Confederate boulevard, and now it's time to get rid of a Confederate holiday. It's time for the City of Little Rock to end its recognition of a state holiday that honors Confederate Army General Robert E. Lee. Created in the old days of the Jim Crow South, Arkansas still celebrates Lee Day as a state holiday every year on the third Monday in January. I'm asking that you, the City Board of Directors, vote on a resolution to end the city's recognition of the Confederate holiday and send a message to the Arkansas General Assembly that we want change. Little Rock, Arkansas doesn't fly the Confederate flag over state and city buildings anymore, nor should the city continue to celebrate a Confederate holiday for the same reason. Now, I'm not trying to be provocative when I say this, but Robert E. Lee was a racist. He owned slaves. He led the Civil War to maintain the institution of slavery. Robert E. Lee led a rebellion against the United States of America and lost. After the South lost the Civil War, Robert E. Lee publicly advocated against African Americans obtaining civil rights, and Robert E. Lee wanted all free slaves expelled from his home state of Virginia. Meanwhile, Robert E. Lee was not an Arkansan, nor did he ever set foot in the state. To continue to celebrate Lee Day in 2016 is just wrong. It's also antiquated, insensitive, and bad for business. To make matters worse, Lee Day, the state holiday, is celebrated on Martin Luther King Day, the national holiday. This dual holiday continues to act as a proverbial middle finger to African Americans who live in the state and to all those who believe in inclusiveness, diversity, and equality. To me, it's insulting to Martin Luther King, the man, to his memory, and to what he represented. It's time to end the national embarrassment, too. It's time to eliminate one of the last official vestiges of white supremacy in the state, and it's time for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to have his own standalone holiday. It's time. Now, I know I'm a white person. When you say white supremacy, white people freak out. Are you calling me a white supremacist? No, that's not what I'm saying. But look at the perspective of this holiday, when it was created, the time that was created, and the compromise that was made in order for us to even adopt Dr. Martin Luther King's holiday. And that compromise in 1985 may have been necessary to get it there, but that's 30 years ago. So anyway, now is the time for the city of Little Rock to take appropriate action. This is a majority city that sends forth a message to everyone that it cares about equality, that it believes in a better tomorrow for all its citizens and residents, regardless of color, creed, sex, sexual orientation, age. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Duda.
And, can I just say, I have a sample, resolution that I would love to be able to hand.
You can submit it to the staff, Mr.
Okay,
Duda.
thank you, sir.
Okay, a couple directors wish to speak. Director Wright?
Mr. Carpenter, I know that's a state holiday. Is that within our purview that we could opt out of that acknowledgement?
Director Wright, the short answer to that is no, you can't change the holiday. What he asked for is a resolution essentially to the state legislature asking that we not recognize Robert E. Lee's birthday at the same time we do Martin Luther King's. And that's a policy question as to whether you wish to do that.
Okay, I understand.
But it would be just the same as telling the Arkansas State Highway Department how to align Interstate 30.
Okay, so the city of Little Rock has to allow its employees to celebrate or acknowledge that holiday.
No, they give the day off because it's a federal holiday for Martin Luther King as far as
But we
I
don't
know.
have to.
I think we do for Martin Luther King, but I'm not sure.
I'm talking about the Robert E. Lee thing. So there's really nothing but us sending that resolution.
Well, yes, there have been attempts at the state legislature to remove Robert E. Lee's name from the day that we celebrate Martin Luther King's birthday. And there have been various legislators, and I believe the governor has spoken about that as well. I certainly think there are many of us who agree with that.
Yeah.
And to the extent that a resolution from the city board of directors may have an influence on the legislature is a question that's legitimate to discuss, but I think that's the nature of what Mr. Duda's request is.
Well, I would like for us
this
to-
board of directors go on record in some form or fashion about whether or not Dr. Martin Luther King should have a holiday unto his own name.
I would like us to have that discussion or either make a motion that we have that resolution.
I think, Director Wright, perhaps the issue would be to make a motion. If you're wanting to make a motion, it may be to ask the city attorney's office to prepare a resolution for the board's consideration.
Yes.
Is there a
Yes, I
second to
would
that
like that.
motion?
I would like the city attorney to prepare a resolution for the board's consideration to send to the legislature to separate that holiday.
Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second to that?
Mayor,
Well, all right, she had indicated she wanted to make a
well,
motion.
if you told me I needed one.
No, you made a motion, and I was just trying to honor the fact that you had made a motion to that effect.
Tom, will you do that for me, please?
Draft a resolution for you.
For
Yes,
our
ma'am.
consideration?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. When can you have that?
I'll have it Friday.
Oh, good. So we'll have it for next Tuesday.
He's got a lot of things on his list too, by the way.
He has other attorneys.
All right, very good. Director Richardson, you're recognized.
Yes, Mayor, my point was, I think he has a simple resolution to pass out, and I think it's got stuck down there, and that may alleviate the amount of work it's gonna take for Tom to do that. And the second part of that is, it's a resolution, it's not an ordinance, and Tom, I don't think it's telling them how to do it, what to do. I remember when I did a foreclosure resolution, it expressed our interest around that whole foreclosure issue back in 2007, asking the federal government and other folks to look at alternatives or give them time before they actually took action. It doesn't tell them how to do business, just simply expressing our will, our desire, and how we feel. So it's not necessarily, I'm gonna somewhat disagree with you, it's not necessarily telling the highway department how to do this and how to do that, and it's not telling the state or the feds, it's expressing our opinion on it, our position on this, our pleasure or displeasure with this particular item. And I think you have an item, you have a resolution, a sample resolution that Mr. Duda provided you, and hopefully that gives you a little bit more momentum, and it takes less time for you to finalize the resolution.
Director Richardson, you and I are on the same page. The question was, do we have the authority to change this? The answer is no.
I got you right.
And in terms of any resolution to the legislature, any resolution to the federal Congress about internet taxes, anything else, in terms of authority, it doesn't have much. In terms of political and moral authority, that's a whole different issue.
I hear you, I didn't listen to the full question, I'm sorry about that.
Director Hendricks, you're recognized, please.
I was just going to say that the gentleman even stated that what we do would automatically go over to the state legislature. They can accept it or reject it. That's my understanding, and I will be voting for it.
All right. Director Wright.
I have, this is on another issue.
All right, go ahead, please.
Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore. We had a very successful Bolo Bash that's at Rebsamen Tennis Center this year. And I went to the kickoff for 2017, and it's lined up to be another outstanding event. I want to acknowledge all of the volunteers and our sponsors, Baptist Health. But I also want to make sure that we have the banners on the light poles, at least down the drive leading into the center, if we can't have them on 12th Street. I'd also like for you to come up with an estimate of the price that it would be to pave the driveway in there where all the potholes were that were patched, and that parking lot, because this is a first-class facility, and it's embarrassing to me, and it should be embarrassing to the city, that we've got these patches all over the place because the potholes have been allowed to get so bad. I appreciate the new entrance sign off Cleveland. That's a welcome addition. But I really want us next year, in planning for this Bolo Bash, that we roll out the red carpet for our guests that are going to be coming to the city. And this is a marvelous opportunity to get LRCV involved so that our hotels in the area, in that area out there, can get some of the business. And we just need to promote this thing, and I think it can get even bigger. And the tennis pro and I had a nice conversation, and he's got some great ideas for making that a very high-profile facility and bringing in some more events. And I just think that he needs our support, and I'm asking for your support in that. Okay, this is at Rebsamen Tennis Center. Thank you.
If there's no other business, is there a motion to adjourn? I hear one. Is there a second? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed say nay. Or an adjournment. Thank you.